Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Strand?
Here.
Gehrig?
Here.
Grinberg?
Here.
Pepcorn?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here. We had an interesting week last week. We had a drone focus a meeting, which we had many people from all over the country. We're excited to learn that the fire department and the police department are going to learn how to fly drones and perhaps use them on some of their work. And Tony Gehrig has volunteered to help you guys if you want to chase him and see if you can catch him. Library. The library annual summer reading program started today and runs through August 5th. Area kids, teens, and adults are invited to build a better world during the library's annual program for all ages, and participation is free. If you get a chance, check out the 5-minute YouTube video produced with the assistance of Brian Sellen of the City Communications Department. The video was sent to all the area schools to let the kids, teachers, librarians, and administrators know all about the great events and activities planned to be part of the Fargo Public Library Summer Reading Program. Some of the highlights include Lego kickoff block parties, Recycle Starts With You, Building Bonanza Construction Challenge, Chalkboard Herb Garden pots, make your own Hytufta pots, Citizen Science Monarch Larvae Monitoring Project. A lot of different things for the kids this summer. Planning is getting a little bit overwhelmed because we keep having people coming into town. According to a recent estimate of the U.S. Census Bureau, Fargo had an estimated population of 120,762 people as of July 1st, 2016. This is a 1-year increase of 2,220 people between 15 and 16, which is a rate of 6 per day. If you add that to the rates in Moorhead and West Fargo, we're at a rate of approximately 10 to 11 people a day are moving into this community. Police were up to some good issues last week. On May 22nd, Chief Todd swore in 6 new officers. They're not all from the area. We're getting them from all over. And we do have a brother-brother combination now in our department. Narcotics detective worked a case recently which resulted in a search warrant and the arrest of a male with the seizure of carfenamine, which is the elephant tranquilizer and is deadly. It's very fortunate our detectives made the case and got this batch off the streets, which probably saves lives. It's somewhat dangerous as well, isn't it? Yep. Patrol investigators worked kidnapping on Friday that started in West Fargo, then moved to Fargo, Richland County, and Minnesota. Everybody worked well together and took piece of the situation to help bring it to a successful end. Once more, it was how well our police force works together with other entities as well. Communications and Public Affairs, the City of Fargo's new website officially launched May 31st. The launch is an accumulation of almost 4 years of discussions, planning, implementation work by many people. This was a tremendous undertaking, and their new website will be a continual work in progress. This new website features many more photos, videos, and social media integrations, and was reorganized to make it easier to navigate for residents, business owners, and visitors. The entire effort intended to make the City of Fargo and your local government resources more easily accessible. You can view the new website over www.fargond.gov. Greg, are you here today? Would you stand up? We just want to give you a round of applause. So. Now, what Greg says is that not everybody quite understands, but we're going to have our recycling bins going out to all the houses this week. And you do not have to put them together. They will not come in the mail. They'll actually come to your house. So please note that when you're looking for your new recycle bin. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda moving items 2 and 18 from consent agenda to regular agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes May 22nd, 2017 regular meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any changes or discussion on any of the parts of the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 35, except item 2 and 18, which have been moved to the regular agenda?
So moved.
Strand, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Gary, a second. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Garrick,
Yes.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Peppercorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now, we're really excited because the Fargo Youth Initiative is going to give their 2017 report. Are you guys going to start with a song or anything like that, or a dance, or Dan didn't tell you that was part of the presentation?
I didn't.
Okay, well, we're excited to see you here. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. People under the age of 18 make up 1 in 5 residents in Fargo, 20%. It's quite a number. And in 2012, the Fargo City Commission created the Fargo Youth Initiative to engage young voices in public life. And I want to introduce you to a few of our remarkable students that are part of the group this year. They're pictured ahead. Before I invite you up here, I just want you to know, we want you to know how much we appreciate your time and efforts to make Fargo great. This appreciation extends to you and your parents and your teachers, especially this group of students. They met every other Sunday night. They found their own time to meet, and they put on quite a program at NDSU this spring where there were over 120 students in attendance, and they're here to tell us about it. And so thank you for being here tonight, for all that you do to make Fargo a great place and a place that people want to be. So with that, Martin Altenberg and Sage Thurlow and Tate Fisher, thanks for being here, and I'll turn the microphone over to you.
So, hello everybody. My name is Martin Altenberg. I am a graduated senior from Fargo North High School just yesterday.
And I'm Sage. Ooh, I'm a junior. No, I'm gonna be a senior at Davies High School.
And we're both board members of the Fargo Youth Initiative. Okay. So, who are we? The Fargo Youth Initiative has been around since 2012. I was actually a founding member back when I was in 8th grade. And when the organization was created, we were sort of unsure like what we would provide for the city or the youth of Fargo. But we came up with 2 rough ideas, a mission of empowering the voice and uniting the youth of Fargo through actions and teamwork, and a vision of FYI, which is an atmosphere where the youth have a positive, sustainable impact on the community of Fargo. And over the past couple of years, we've served a variety of functions within the school system and the city of Fargo, but they all sort of boil down to 3 main functions, which is to serve as a liaison between the city of Fargo and the youth of Fargo, to investigate needs, problems, and issues affecting the youth of Fargo, and to research issues and make policy or project recommendations to the Fargo City Commission. We have 14 members, 9 of which are from North High School, 3 of which are from Davies, and 2 are from Fargo South High School.
So Impact Fargo 2017 this year was a youth-led conference put on by the Fargo Youth Initiative, showing speakers that are from the Fargo area in their late teens or early 20s to show just how Fargo has impacted them and how they have found their place in what they want to do to try and impact Fargo as well. It was held on March 27th at the Century Theater at NDSU, and this year's theme was the power of Fargo, showing how we can all be empowered by Fargo. We had 4 speakers and a power half hour, which is where we let students have a voice to show what they liked about Fargo, what they necessarily didn't like, and what they thought we could do to change it in the future. There's also an art project led by artist Nicole Ray.
So as stated in the last slide, we had 4 main speakers. Our first speaker in the morning was Imagine Thriving, which basically Imagine Thriving's mental health advocacy and awareness organization within Fargo that's run by high school and college students. And so we had 3 speakers, 2 from North High School and 1 from Concordia College, talk about what they do as an organization and the importance of sort of working to end the stigma of mental health within not just the youth of Fargo, but the youth as a whole, high schoolers, and just like what their experience has been running an organization like Imagine Thriving. And after that, we had Lindsay Flory. She is a curator at Bonanzaville. She also works heavily with organizing events for high school and college, middle school students within Bonanzaville. And she talked a lot about the unique perspective she has. She is a master's student at NDSU studying history, and even then she already has a very big part of Bonanzaville being the main event organizer. And she also talked about creating events that are not only interactive but fun and attract a lot just a lot of high school and college students to Bonanzaville, and how other organizations or places within Fargo can replicate Bonanzaville in terms of being more open to the youth of Fargo. One of the biggest ideas she had was creating sort of like a student-led board within Bonanzaville to make Bonanzaville more accessible to the students of Fargo. And then our second part, in the afternoon, we had Lauren Singelman, who is an engineering student at NDSU. She was actually a former member of the Fargo Youth Initiative and former advisor to the Fargo Youth Initiative. And she talked a lot about being an engineering student at NDSU. She's the president of the Society of Women's Engineers, and she also works very heavily with, very heavily with the programs run by NDSU for getting girls into engineering in elementary, middle, and high school. And so just hearing her perspective, she also emphasized the importance of not letting your major or your intended career path limit you, but instead using it to sort of propel you into more opportunities in life. And then our last speaker was Caitlin Dargan. She's a North graduate from 2 years back, and she sort of provided an alternate path she took. She went right into the workforce being a full-time photographer after high school, and just her unique experiences and sort of running her own business at the age of 19, and how having that same sense of entrepreneurship and individuality can serve you well as a high school or college student. And in between our third and fourth speaker, we had artist Nicole Ray do an interactive project with affirmation tags. And basically an affirmation tag is sort of something that looks like a bookmark or luggage tag, and you write affirmations on it such as, I am strong, I am focused, and everyone got to keep them after the conference. So we felt that was a cool project to incorporate within Impact Fargo.
And then in the morning, we had a power half hour where students were split into groups of about 15 or 20, and each group was led by 2 FYI members. And we asked them questions such as, what do you like about the city of Fargo? How can Fargo be improved? Can you picture yourself living in Fargo after college? What's your favorite event in Fargo? And how has Fargo impacted you overall? And the point of these questions was to get students thinking about what Fargo really has done for them and how they can give back. Some of the results.
What's your favorite event?
My favorite event? Bison Games.
Okay.
What's your favorite event?
Hey, that's great. Bison Games.
Yeah.
A lot of students like Bison Games. How about the marathon?
Not running in it, but I like the marathon, yeah.
I like running.
My school orchestra played along the half marathon trail this year to
And then what about,
motivate.
what did they want to improve? What did you think was most of what they wanted to improve?
Yeah, some of the results we got were students wanted to see a safer downtown, some places where teens could hang out and not feel pressured into do anything, but just a safe place for teens to hang out in a cool place. They wanted better treatment of small and locally owned businesses, trying to get more people involved with Fargo and see how much we have to offer for our citizens. Wanted more opportunities for low-income families and refugees, as there is a crisis going on with more people. I think you said 10 or 11 people entering every single day. We want them to feel welcome and have more opportunities. Eliminating plastic bags and littering, and improving the recycling program overall with the single-strand recycling bins. That's a good step in the right direction, and a more appreciation of the arts. And then that was just some of the things that we got from these students. If you'd like to see the full list, you can contact us because we do have the full list.
Did you have notes for that?
Yeah.
That explains it.
No, this is all off my head.
And we did have posters who made it Impact Fargo, but because of the fact that so many of our members are involved in things throughout the summer, we weren't able to bring them to this meeting, unfortunately. But if you want, we can send pictures of the posters.
And the post-conference survey, overall, students really liked the speakers that we had to offer. The favorites were, well, I guess Caitlin Dargan because she was so local, but they really liked the students that grew up in Fargo and are continuing to stay in Fargo to show what that has to offer. They liked the overall experience and how they learned how they could impact Fargo, and they liked that we gave them a voice. As we said, we are a liaison between the Fargo youth and the Fargo city, so the Power Half Hour was a good experience for everybody to show what they want to see in the future of Fargo. And some of our plans from next year, again, most of our members are from North. We had 9 North, 3 from Davies and 2 from South. So we want to see more equal representation from the 3 Fargo public schools, just to show how we're helping with the city overall, not just from one part of the city. And if possible, we would like to put on our 3rd Impact Fargo in 2018.
And then, as the Fargo Youth Initiative, we're basically a city organization at this point, and so one of the greatest ways that we can be helped is just getting input from the city commission and possibly getting help in terms of, say, marketing our events such as Impact Fargo, or like marketing the application process so we have more applicants for the Fargo Youth Initiative. And we really just want to help further our main 3 functions that we talked about earlier, which is being a liaison, investigating needs, and researching issues and policy recommendations for the city of Fargo. And please contact us if you have any questions or requests or possible projects we could undertake that would involve the Fargo school system, the youth of Fargo. And just a reminder, as Dan Molly said earlier, youth make up 20% of the population of Fargo, and they're not able to vote. And so the Fargo Youth Initiative is one of the biggest ways that we help voice their opinions and be their voice within the city of Fargo. And
Is this the end now? Very good,
yeah,
good
if you have any
report.
questions? Oh,
Should we give a round of applause for this group?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pepcorn?
I have a question. So you asked about the city being able to help you. Are you on our website? Like, so when you had your leadership speakers come, were they on our city website? And can we help them that way? I guess that would be one. And then I have one question. So I'm a North alumni, so I'm not surprised that there's lots of North High kids.
Hey.
There's lots of leaders on the north side. But Mark, if you could tell a little bit about your academics, where you're going to school, and this is opportunity to tell about yourself a little bit.
all right. So, hello everybody. I'm a just graduated senior from North High, and I'm the North Dakota team that got into all 8 Ivy Leagues, I guess. And I ended up choosing Stanford. Hi, Emma McIntyre. And the Fargo Youth Initiative has had such a big impact on my life that for my Stanford application, you had to write around a 400-word essay on the activity that's influenced you the most. And I wrote all about the Fargo Youth Initiative in creating it, and how much it's benefited both me and the city. And that's also a really big benefit of the Fargo Youth Initiative, is that it empowers high school students to think big when it comes to college, same as within the city of Fargo, and just motivating everyone. I guess I'd have to say that some of the most motivated and steadfast people that I have met are all through this Fargo Youth Initiative, and just having following the footsteps of all these amazing people really motivated me. So
Congratulations. Did you see on the Wall of Fame, Commissioner Pepcorn, was he in the Wall of Fame for North High? I don't know if you saw that.
Killing me.
Commissioner Grinberg?
Just to answer Commissioner Pepcorn's question, yes, the Fargo Youth Initiative is on the website, fargond.gov. And then if you go on boards and commissions, there's a site for the Fargo Youth Initiative. So any young people that are out there that are interested in participating next year, the application is there as well.
You guys comment? No?
Well, you just mentioned marketing and promotion. I think this would be a great story for the Fargo Forum to write about.
it'd be nice if we were able to get media at our events, or just to cover the Fargo Youth Initiative, because we really want to put ourselves out there. Because I know some of our meetings were sort of seeing what we can do besides Impact Fargo, and it's sort of hard when we're not getting requests from other people. And so just having people contact us with different ideas would be amazing.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman. So when you're a senior, I want you to write us a letter and tell us what we need to do for you to come back here after you're graduated from college. We would like to have you come back.
Okay. I could be governor like Burgum. Stanford graduate.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you very
Run for
much.
mayor.
Give me a little more time.
But yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
I think what we might do next year is make it a goal to have commissioners have lunch with you, or have some time which you could sit and talk to them, and maybe on an individual basis get to know each one of them and look at what the youth want for the community. I think that'd be great for us. I think we'd enjoy that. Have positive vibrations come back to us. We like that. Now we go to public discussion. Item 37, Commissioner Grinberg wishes to reconsider the City Commission's action taken on May 8, 2017 regarding the zoning changes from SR4 single dwelling residential and PI public institutional to SR single dwelling residential and public and institutional and plat of Bison Meadows Second Edition, north of 70th Avenue South and west of University Drive South. This would be a first reading of the rezoning ordinance, consider infrastructure request for the first phase of Bison Meadows subdivision, and consider the stormwater retention agreement with Thompson Properties LLC for Bison Meadows Second Edition. Commissioner Grinberg.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I understand the first order is to have a motion to reconsider to get it back on the table, and Mr. Gilmore will proceed into the latest with the discussions with the neighborhood and what the new proposed.
So you're making the motion to reconsider. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Gehring or Strand, whichever one went first for you. Go ahead. Jim Gilmer.
Well, he's got to take a vote first.
Gotta take a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Grinberg?
No. Yep. Roll call. Go ahead.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Garrig?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Now we can reconsider. Jim Gilmer.
I should note for the record that we did notify everyone in the neighborhood about this meeting as our city attorney had advised us to do. So I expect that everyone who might have spoken here 4 weeks ago has been notified of this meeting. The revised plat, after meeting with the developer and getting some input from the neighborhood, the plat was revised to be changed from 393 lots to 347 lots. There's also, if you can see from this image, 2 additional connections to the trails, one immediately to the north and one immediately to the east. So there was, I think, some better trail connectivity that came into here. I think there's the stormwater detention facility is a little bit larger. The zoning itself is unchanged. The number of very narrow or 36-foot lots is at 229, where previously most of the lots were of that size. So that's item 37A. I should note that the infrastructure requests that we had also have on the agenda, really what we're looking for tonight is your direction to ask engineering to prepare all the documents that could be considered in 2 weeks. We don't have all those done, but there'd still be time for a Public Works Committee review and to bring back to actually calling for bids. The developer's hoping to get infrastructure in this fall. I think if you saw the packet, there's kind of that street to the furthest to the west to put the bulk of that street in this fall, so they'll have an adequate number of lots to build on. Commissioner Grinberg had also visited with the developer about some additional green space in the area, and like one of the thoughts is there's a home along here, I don't know if, right here, and all these lots were bought out by the county, and so we're requesting that the developer acquire this house, provide that to the city, and we could have some additional green space in the area. Those lots all have flood restrictions on them. You can't build on those in the future, but might be an opportunity for some community gardens or some other open space in the area. And I think the house is available for sale for $260,000, and the idea would be the city would provide up to $60,000, and the developer would provide the balance. Do you have any questions on the revised plat?
Let me
Mr.
just add
Grimberg?
on Mr. Gilmer's comments about that house. If you recall, we had, when we annexed that land last fall, their desire of that one homeowner was to sell, and it was kind of a conundrum, at least in my personal sentiment, was, we didn't need to do this, given the fact that diversion was continuing to move forward. Well, with the discussion that took place with the borrow pit and the uniqueness of this location, I threw the idea out to see if the developer would acquire that property, deed it back to the city, and then that's a strip along there that we, over time, could work with the county to acquire that land or the park district to add additional green space and accomplish that buyout. And the proposal would be that they would put 200,000 towards that purchase, given their access to that borrow pit with the detention ponds. We would put 60 in and then sell it and get, presumably a lot of our cash back, and then move forward. So we had additional green space that can be defined as area grows, whether that's the park district or the city, or some nonprofit group, quite honestly. So that was the thought logic behind that. Kind of Commissioner Pepcorn had some concerns over the windfall, if you could use that word, on not having to build their own, but some skin in the game on us helping develop the area with green space was the thought process.
Commissioner Pepcorn?
Mr. Chairman, and maybe Bruce, you can, I called April and she's not here today, so maybe, my main concern was we are going to use some of that borrow soil, and I want to make sure that agreement is ironed out so we know, because there's still some uncertainty about how we're going to use the borrow pit and things like that. So maybe you can clarify that, because I would like to have that in writing, just so we know what's going on. And then the other concern I had was that, are they benefiting from the drainage? And if they are compensating us, that was the main concern. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Fortunately, Commissioner, I have my stormwater expert with me.
Brenda?
Good evening, Commissioners and Mayor. So the agreement on the pond expansion discusses, so there's a couple of things happening in the development. They're gonna have to loamer, and they're gonna have to build the levee. And so there is clay on the parkland that's designated for the levee, because that's a little bit drier and better soil right now. It doesn't have to be worked. And so that soil is gonna be dedicated to the levee, and there should be enough there. So in essence, they're kind of giving us that land to build that levee, or that soil to build that levee. And then in our agreement, there is no money being exchanged as part of the as part of the agreement today, just so you understand that.
Okay.
And, but it does say that they will special assess the cost to expand the pond, and that, and we'll take those soils and they'll start disking them and drying them to use for their loamer work, because we're taking the soil there and using it for the levee.
Okay. And I think, Mr. Chairman, part of the misconception was one of the people from the neighborhood showed us the map of the park, and we don't have any idea what it's going to look like until we get all the flood protection done. So whatever those pictures were, that was just a conceptual thing. I think the neighborhood assumed that's not necessarily how it's going to look. That could be how it's going to look, but maybe you can explain that a little more, because there's still a lot of,
I think on the park, know that they've come forth and are going to finish the park at the beginning of the project. Developers are probably hearing comment on that, but what I had heard when I went to the neighborhood meeting is that the park now conceptually is going to be built early in the development, so it'd be able for the neighbors to use. Is that correct?
So are you talking about the park in Crofton
Around the
Coves?
retention pond?
Around the retention pond. To date, I am not aware that we have a timeline to date to have that done. But what we did do is, after communication, we did make sure, because right now along the south line, we have about an 80-foot buffer from that edge of the pond to bring the bike trail in. And so we did maintain that 80-foot edge all the way along there. So that area got expanded so we can keep that same feeling as it goes around the retention pond that you had previously.
Jim, do we have somebody to clarify when the park's being done?
Jim Larson from the Park District.
Thank you. Commissioners, Mayor Mahoney, thank you for allowing us to speak. We don't have any immediate plans for that park. It's a joint project with the city and the Park District. Our goal here is to develop that to be a strong recreational area. We wish we could say it was going to be developed next year, but we're not able to. It's not fully funded at this point, but that is the goal, and the city is working with us in that funding. We will commit to the fact that the other park areas within the developments of Crofton Coves and of Bison Meadows are to be constructed next year, and that is our plans at this point, and we do have a funding source to complete that park area with the full connectivity eventually into the borrow pit land and potentially the areas that are to the east along University. Be glad to answer any questions.
No, Jim,
that I
that's
can.
what I was curious about. So it's mainly the parks in the developments that are going to go right ahead.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman,
Pepper.
thank you very much, Jim, but I just wanted to clarify that is going to eventually be park, but we don't even know what it's going to look like until all of our flood protection is completed, which is still a ways away. So however that got misconstrued, so I think we've made that clear, so thank you for doing that.
Any other comments or questions of the commission? To have a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion for staff recommendation with the addition of up to $60,000 for the acquisition of that house with the intent that the city would sell, and that would be moved off the premise. And we recap that investment of our $60,000 or whatever it sold for. And that further, we would approve the infrastructure request for the first phase of the Bison Meadows subdivision and direct the preparation of the necessary documents for consideration at the next city commission meeting. This language is needed to align the potential decision tonight to approve so that process will start, so construction could begin this fall. Otherwise, we start delaying and we'll miss a construction season.
There's a second.
Second.
Just a question, Commissioner Greenberg. You met with the neighbors, the planning's gone out there and talked to everybody. Is this a compromise on everybody's part? Because as you recall, the discussion we had last time, we took this up, was there was 100% disagreement with this plan. Where are you now with the neighborhood?
I can't answer the sentiments of the entire neighborhood. I did meet with one of the opponents who was very respectful, and we had breakfast meeting, and we talked through the flood proofing, the Lomar, the levee along the east side, concern for south side of the development for west exit, and then pedestrian crossing. And in my discussions with Mr. Gilmore, the south side exit, or the east exit, if you will, to University cost-wise was prohibitive. But I've been assured with pedestrian crossing, those things will be accommodated as that area grows for safety for crossing that avenue. So again, I don't believe everybody's happy with the compromise here. But I know some have articulated to me that thanks for the process and the additional effort.
Does anyone make a comment or statement at this time?
Mayor, City Commission, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this matter. I live in Eagle Point, and I attended the meeting that was a few weeks back talking about, looking for input from the neighborhood. And I don't believe anybody that I talked to from the neighborhood that was at the meeting, I mean, we appreciate the fact that the landowner builder is trying to accommodate the neighborhood and trying to make changes. But I don't think anybody in any of the neighborhoods is really happy with even this change because as of several days ago when I drove through there, this sign was still standing that showed what that neighborhood was envisioned to be. And it was, I forget what, 130, 150 lots, something like that, and it was substantially different than what any of the last plats have been. Now, I realize that there is a plat in place that's 297 lots, I believe, and I believe those are quite small lots, quite narrow, and in talking to the folks at that meeting, I appreciate the fact that it's difficult to build with those water retention areas and those long, narrow lots and the difficulty with maintaining that property. I can understand that. But the people that I talk to in the neighborhood are pretty much just against the very narrow lots. And I understand the city wanting to help out with being able to build affordable homes, single-family homes. But sometimes things just may not be doable if the costs are high. If it simply costs more for the assessments, the streets and the lots, then maybe those lots can't be developed into single-family homes. They're not in keeping with the promise to the neighborhood originally about how that area was going to develop to blend in with the rest of those neighborhoods. That isn't to say that something like this couldn't happen in another part of the city where enough advance notice is given to the area so everybody knows what's happening right up front. In looking at this latest amendment, there are still, I believe, about 230 of the lots that are 36 foot in width, and I believe about 50 lots each in the 46 and 51 foot, and maybe 30 lots in this 60 foot width. Now, I understand what it's like to live in a lot like that, because when I got out of the Air Force in 1973, I came back to Fargo, and I bought a little house on the north end of town that was on a 50-foot lot. And most of the houses in that area were built back in the 40s, and that was a small, narrow two-story, and it had the parking in the rear, and the house was maybe 20 foot wide, and so it fit on a 50-foot lot. But today's homes generally have two stall garages in the front, and the garage with the driveway is usually about 24 feet. Sidewalk, that takes up about 2/3 of the property in the front of the house is all concrete. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, the same is true with the 36-foot lots today as with then. When you have a normal snowfall in the winter in North Dakota, there simply is no place for the snow to come off the driveways and the streets, and so that entire neighborhood the snow would have to be trucked out of there. There just would be no place for the snow to go. We've been lucky the last couple of years with mild winters, but we've also had winters where we've had 140 inches too, so that has to be kept in mind. Now, I know the agreement that the builder is working with on that water retention area, that provides additional space that they no longer need for water retention on that area. So they do have a little bit more room. If they were to come back into that 300 lot number with that additional space that they now have freed up, they could make some of the lots wider. And if you'll bear with me for just a minute, I would like to provide a visual. My paces are pretty accurate because I laid cable for a number of years, and so I can come pretty close in pacing out a number of feet. From the edge of this podium to that chair is 36 feet. So that's what we're looking at in a lot width. And 229 of those lots are going to be that width. That does not allow a lot of room for a home and a yard in that neighborhood. I do appreciate the fact that the city wants to provide affordable single-family homes in town, and I confess I'm ignorant of all of the programs the city may have in place, but maybe there could be some type of a tax abatement for older neighborhoods for people who want to go in and buy those houses and fix them up. I know they have Renaissance zones and tax abatements for multimillionaires building multi-million-dollar projects. Maybe we need some kind of a program to rehab older neighborhoods and give people affordable single-family homes and take care of fixing up those old neighborhoods at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a program to rehab homes at the present time. We've worked at, it's $1 million program, Dan, isn't it? And we have Gate City with that right now, so we have done some. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak regarding this change?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Michael Barth, and I'm a resident of Eagle Point. And without repeating everything that this other gentleman had said, I've spoken with several of my neighbors, as well as my wife and I share the same concerns that he has. But the other concern that we have in when you're more than doubling the size from the original plan to this size with the lots that are going into this neighborhood is the environmental impact studies that have been done. With the number of residents would be more than double than what was originally planned, with noise and traffic, with all the kids that are coming in and going out of Davies. You know, we're extremely concerned not only about the snow removal and narrow lots, we're very concerned about the diminishing property values, which nobody can tell you exactly what that's going to do, but when you build that many lower property-sized lots and homes in that neighborhood, it will depreciate all of our property values. And we are extremely concerned for the safety of our kids driving to and from school at Davies High School every day with the amount of traffic that will be going in and out of that area. You're not going to be able to exit out onto University, so you'll be coming out onto that 70th Street or going through Crofton Coves. There's just way too many people in that very condensed area. So I'd like to see some sort of comparison on an environmental study impact from the original assessment or the original plat survey to the new, most recent laid out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Gilmore, do we have any environmental studies on this or traffic impacts?
Jeremy Gordon might want to comment on this, but the traffic on 70th from it's just not that significant in terms of the overall capacity of these roads. It's sufficient capacity to handle that. Actually, most of the kids that go into Davies are coming down 25th Street. He said there's surprisingly little traffic on 70th right now, so that's going to increase as the city grows, but I'll let Jeremy address any specifics.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Yeah, this is, I was one of the project engineers that punched 70th Avenue through to University. If you remember a couple years back, we dead-ended it there at 14th Street and there was a missing block. At that time, people were concerned about a signal being needed there at some point in the future. But since we made that connection, it's surprisingly quiet down there. In my world, in traffic world, residential properties don't do a lot to warrant or justify traffic signals. It's usually the high turnover commercial properties that need those signals for access to get out. That's not to say that, traffic evolves. We can always look at this in the future. I'm looking at things, the built environment all the time. So it's not like we can't come back here, do a signal analysis. We're going to be doing a mid-block crossing for the Milwaukee Trail on the eastern or the western side of the development. We can always look back. We can always look at this in the future. But currently, South University has less than 5,000 cars a day. 70th Avenue has right around 2,500, less than 2,500. Those are low volumes. I mean, for collector streets, arterial streets, they're tens of thousands. So I'm comfortable proceeding, but we can always look at this in the future.
So you had a question about environmental studies. Do we do environmental studies or just traffic counts?
We basically do environmental studies when there's federal funds involved. Or we'll do a traffic impact study, which is just a local study on large-scale developments, but usually never for residential properties like this.
Thank you.
As far as impacts to the environment, single-family homes don't typically have a negative impact to the environment. As far as the school enrollment, the school district has been aware of these. They built 2 new elementary schools north of here, and so they anticipate there'd be adequate space at Bennett. They've actually have property in this area where they could actually build another elementary school should enrollment reach that. The real probably enrollment issue with the Fargo school system is in that middle school range with Discovery getting quite large. Davies still has some additional capacity, but those school impacts are here. The kids are somewhere in the community, and so whether they're here or somewhere else at the high school and middle school level, the impact is about the same.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this consideration?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, we were here last year when we were going through this Bison Meadows and the annexation process on that. We live in Crescent Estates down there, 7305, right south of Steve, right there, that house that you said you were going to acquire.
Could you give your names?
I'm Ben Pitts.
Emily Pitts.
And we were going through the process there, and we went through the process. We sat down with you in a meeting as well, and we came under the understanding that there'd be a memo of understanding that if we wanted to sell out and we needed to sell out, that you guys would be there for the city to buy us out. I talked to Commissioner Grinberg as well on the phone. We had a pretty lengthy discussion about my house and where we're at, and you came up with a couple ideas about the green space and stuff, and we were going to get together with the Parks Department and stuff. Ever since that meeting, I've been kept in the dark. I didn't know anything about this. I had no idea that you guys were going to acquire Steve's house whatsoever. I guess I would like to be in on that acquisition if it's at all possible. I don't know where the communication relays or whatever we need to do. I mean, let's get her done, because that's where I'm at on that deal. I mean, if they need more green space, we got over 1/2 an acre down there. We'd prefer to get out at that point in time, just because that's the situation where we're at. It's just that's not working well for us. And I do have a concern about the safety at that corner. We've lived down there since the inception of Eagle Point down there, and traffic has considerably got better. But with that gravel road, you'll see right there, I don't want to call it a death trap, but there's going to be an accident there, and it's not going to be a good one. We got 55-mile-an-hour people going south, so everybody's going to go 60 there. You got people turning and kids are there. I mean, it's just not a good situation at all. So if, at the least amount, that gravel road needs to be taken out of there.
Mr. Grinberg?
Mr. Chairman, we would agree. We've had the conversation about that road and ultimately if, you know, that entire strip, which, you know, there's a few remaining to the south there, but you're spot on with that gravel exit or
Yeah.
entrance.
Yeah, it needs to be just removed. I mean, that's my 100% feelings. If I'm forced to stay there, I'm forced to stay there, but, I mean, I'd like to visit that maybe outside of the commission if we can, please, on that, so.
Do that? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Not, we'll close. Oh, one more. Go ahead. Jim?
Commissioners, I'll try and be brief. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One, with regard to the traffic issue, we are actually creating less intersections on 70th with this revised plat. I mean, it isn't just, you know, there are some good things here that I don't think are getting talked about. One, we've lined up the intersections so they line up with Eagle Point. The existing plat does not. So we're actually, you know, reducing the number of potential right-ins and left turns on that road. The other one is that the plat as exists are all about 36-foot lots. Now we're down to about 2/3 of that number at 36, with a pretty good mix of neighborhood homes. I think this compromise process, we didn't walk out of it entirely happy either, but it I think creates a pretty good neighborhood at this point. If any questions, I'll try and answer them. Otherwise,
Anyway. Thank you. No, I think we'll close public hearing. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by the commissioners? Commissioner Strand?
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. I'm just curious, Commissioner Grinberg, you made the motion. So I'm kind of, this started as 147 lots, then went to 297. When we met on May 8th, it was 393. At your Davies meeting, I believe it was negotiated down to 370. Is the motion now, and I know we had talked with Mr. Bullis and others at the last meeting about their willingness to compromise, is the motion now for 347 lots?
That's correct.
Am I correct in that?
347. Correct.
And the bulk of the additional green space will be up on that edge where the house is, or where will the rest of the green space come from?
Jim, address that.
The new green space.
Yeah, the new green space is 2 additional lots to connect to these. One right here, this was added, and then I believe there's some additional space here. From the first plat, there's actually more green space along here, but that was already in the development. Most of the reduction in lot size, numbers of lots, was by making more of the lots a little bit wider. So most of the added green space, if you will be on each individual yard.
Thank you.
Any other question or discussion? Roll call vote, please. This takes a supermajority, so.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Garrick?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Public hearing, again, changes in the route bus, bus routes 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 22, 23, in addition to Route 24. Julie Bummelman has asked this to be continued to 5:15 on Monday, May 19th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or do I have to roll call that one, Dan?
No.
We should be fine. Okay. Vacation of a portion of Robert Street North and Northern Pacific Avenue between blocks 1 and 6 of Roberts Addition. Tract of land being located at NP Avenue and Robert Street North. Approval recommended by the Planning Commission on 4/4/17. Planning Commissioner, not Nicole Crutchfield.
Good evening, Commissioners. Donald Kress with the Department of Planning and Development. Item 38B, as the mayor has stated, is a vacation of a portion of Robert Street. You can see there as Robert Street comes into Northern Pacific Avenue. You will recognize this, the portion that has been closed off is the area where the fire department has developed the new addition to the fire department headquarters, the area where the historic fire truck is displayed. The area to be vacated is indicated on the plat, the hatched area on the plat. The recommendation for approval of this vacation plat is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to the vacation of this plat? Anybody wishes to speak? It's kind of hard to have objections. You already have the new fire truck there, right?
It's already there.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'd assume you do it, the fire liaison. You kind of like that thing, right? Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Garrick?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Name change plat for 38th Street South, located south of the city of Fargo with commerce on I-29, to be renamed 39th Street South. Approval recommended by Planning Commission. Don will address.
Yes, sir. Again, to locate this here, Commissioners, this is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. This area here is the Commerce on I-29 subdivision. This is 98th. This area was originally indicated as 38th Street. This plat depicts the portion of 38th Street that is to be redesignated as 39th Street South. This plat will bring this portion of street into line with the city's numbering system for the current street pattern. The recommendation for approval of this vacation is stated in your staff report and is shown on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this change? Anyone present who wishes to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move the recommended motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Pepcorn for the second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Garrick?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye.
Thanks, sirs.
Thanks, Don. Item D, transfer of Class GH alcoholic beverage license from Ravish LLD, doing business as Himalaya Yacht at 1450 25th Avenue, 25th Street South, number 161, to Harihar, doing business as Himalaya Yacht. This sounds a little complex.
It's actually quite simple. It's somebody wanted to sell their business. They did so and came to an agreement with somebody else that wanted to acquire the business and the liquor license. And so we've done our background check and everything came through in 1 minute and 42 seconds.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I address?
Pepcorn, yeah.
I don't like to brag about our committee. We have an excellent committee, but it was an all-time record, and I challenge any other committee chair to beat that record. Was it 138?
Could have been. I thought it was 142, but maybe it was a minute 30.
And we did the full, did everything correctly, and so that, I believe, will stand all time as the shortest meeting in
Mr.
history.
Chairman, I request an audit of the procedure and process.
40-yard dash, let's see. Anyway, is there any president who wishes to object to this transfer? Is there anybody who wishes to speak to it? If not, I close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Can we take more than 2 minutes to take care of this? Anyway.
This is longer than the meeting was.
Roll call vote.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Garrick?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item E, transfer of Class ABH limited alcoholic beverage license from PACDAC Hospitality to Holiday Inn Express and Suites I-94 at 4711 19th Avenue South to 4711 Hospitality, doing business as Holiday Inn Express I-94. See if Bragg can explain this one.
This was the other half of the very short liquor control meeting. And this, again, is a sale of a business, and they wanted to transfer the liquor license with it. This liquor license, the ABH Limited, allows them to do the manager's specials. They're not selling the alcohol, they're just, they're having the complimentary type thing. So we did our background checks, and everything came back fine.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this transfer? Anyone present who wishes to speak? If not, we'll go to a closed public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Garrick?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item F, special assessments for 2015 reconstruction of city-ordered sidewalks. Public would like to know why you're talking about 2015 sidewalks this time.
Well, there was some staff changes in engineering, and it delayed us getting all of the numbers put together so that we could assess the 2015 last year. And I think we could probably do F, G, and H all in one.
Okay.
We've got the reconstruction of the 2015, the reconstruction of the 2016, and the new construction of the 2016.
Is there anyone present who wants to talk about their sidewalks? Anyone present wishes to speak? If not, we'll close the public. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All three items?
Yes.
F, G, and H. Is there a second? Any further discussion? Now, just for the public, when they get a sidewalk approval, what does this mean to the homeowner and their specials? What will happen?
Well, so this fall, after this approval, we'll post them to their individual properties, and so this fall then, they would get the first installment of the sidewalk assessment.
And how long do they have to pay them off?
I believe the sidewalk ones are 10 years. Let me just look at Dan. I'm getting a nod, yes. So sidewalk is a 10-year assessment. And I think the legislature this year just approved us going to 20 on those, was it, Ken? Yes, so next year.
We're trying to make specials less costly to go to 20 years, and I think the
Correct.
planning department was okay with that. The finance department was looking at that as well.
Yep,
Okay.
so, but that won't be effective until the legislative changes take effect in August, so that'll be for next year.
So you either could be at the 10-year or the 20-year pay.
And you can always pay them off early, so.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Roll call vote, please.
Grunberg.
Aye.
Garrick.
Yes.
Strand.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Special assessment for the following improvement districts all have been approved by Special Assessment Commission on 5/5/17, set interest rate of 1% per annum over the net rate of bonds financed said projects. This is a said project goes from I to BB. It's out for public view. And is Dan going to do this, or you're going to do this?
I can stay up here.
Go ahead.
So we have, if we take out the 3 sidewalk projects, we have 17 projects remaining for a total assessed value of $22 million. And we've gone through our normal procedure. We had one person that came to Special Assessment Commission hearing, and they wanted to talk about the diversion assessment. And so we had nobody that wanted to talk about their local city assessments. I think Dan's had a few conversations with people, along the way and been able to explain things. So I guess we'll see if anybody's here that wants to talk about them.
Is there anyone here who wants to talk about the specials that are on our list? Anyone present who wishes to speak? If none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Grinberg, Gehring. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oops, Commissioner Strand.
Thank you. I just have a question. I was had a visit today by Mr. Mike Morrissey, and he lives at 4303 43rd Avenue South. I want to say that's the Woodhaven. Do I have the right name for that?
I believe so. I think, I'm gonna have Dan come up because I'm pretty sure he spoke to him too.
Okay, and so the simple question I had that I wasn't able to give a clear answer was relative to benefit. And this is a seal coat of the streets throughout this subdivision, which is a homeowners association. And his question was, why would somebody up in that far corner not have more benefit than somebody who lives right near the entrance, which he lives, you come into the subdivision, he's right there shortly. And yet, so his question, as I understood, got to how do you qualify benefit? And then the other question that kind of surfaced in our discussion is if you have a entire association that they own everything in community property, except for your home itself and the few inches away from your footprint, why wouldn't the benefit be distributed to the association versus by each parcel and then by linear foot?
It is, the benefit is calculated on a linear foot basis. So where you're at in the development, everybody pays the same linear foot, whether you're in the middle of the development or towards the entrance of the development. If you look at it the way Mr. Morrissey was looking at it, he's on the end of the development, and he should be paying part of the next development. Where does it end? Each of our streets are contiguous, so it's pretty hard to define. So we define it by your front foot of these lots. In the Woodhaven area that they're discussing, and that I did discuss with him, it's one lot could have 5 units on it, and the green space is distributed amongst those 5 units. In Mr. Morrissey's, I believe it was 3 units for his parcel. Some are up to 8 or 9 units per parcel, but it's on the front foot of those 5. The green space again is distributed that way.
Help me explain, so I'm able to repeat it, the benefits answer relative to your location in a broader area.
It's calculated on a front foot basis.
Okay.
So we take the total cost of the project, we calculate the footage of any parcel in that area, and we divide it out on that by the total front footage and divide it into the cost.
If I might continue, his question, I think, alluded to that this is statutorily defined, is it, or?
Benefit is statutorily designed either by front foot, square foot, or a combination of both.
And that state statute defines
Yes.
it, so we follow the statute.
Correct.
And that's just the way it is?
Yes.
We do, okay. Thank you.
And we have been challenged, Commissioner Strand, on our, sometimes on some more specials, and every time it's gone to the Supreme Court, we have prevailed. We do it the correct way, whatever the state has requested of us. So Dan does a great job, so thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Pepcorn? Mahoney?
Aye. I'm just construction update. I'll go to that after we do the last two items, if you don't mind, Commissioners. Number 18, encroachment agreement for Juice, LLC at 64 Broadway. This can be explained by Ben Koppelman.
Thank you, Commission. For the record, I'm Ben Koppelman. I own Vision Construction, and I recently constructed the fit-up for this Juice It restaurant located at 64 Broadway. That piece of property is kind of unique because it has an alley, former alley, I should say, that was closed off when Broadway was reconstructed a number of years ago, and was not vacated because there's a sewer line that runs beneath it. And so it's been used for other purposes. That 64 Broadway, which was recently a radio station, and prior to that, I believe, was Lauerman's. That radio station building has a current agreement in place, or at least is in the process of making sure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed to continue that. And what that provided to the building was it provided handicap accessibility as well as access to the side of the building. And they had improved it with some sidewalks and benches and a flagpole and things that complemented the public sidewalk that goes along Broadway, and actually provides a walking path for those that wish to use the alley to go to and from their location, as opposed to going around the block. And in this case, the Juice It restaurant is going only in the front portion of the building, does not have access to the rear portion of the building, and thus, if granted this allowance to have a patio there, it will provide them handicap accessibility, as well as would provide them some outside dining. This process was kind of unique because it was both a dining request, similar to what they do on the public sidewalk, as well as it was an encroachment agreement on a city property where railings could be put up to define an area for patio. And so in this request, and the reason why it was taken off the consent agenda is when the application was put in, we had requested a waiver of the fee, the annual fee, and somehow that was lost in process. And as I understand it, there's someone from one of the committees that would reinforce this statement, but was lost in the process. And so when they approved it, they approved it with a fee. And so had it been on the consent agenda, we would not have been able to make a request to the commission to do so without a fee. But I believe all the rest of the application processes to have the space are done.
For the commissioners, there's an application fee of $500, and then there's an annual $500 fee. And actually, we had already approved another encroachment, and the commission approved the $500 application fee, but did not put in the next $500 annual fee. So that it would be the recommended motion is we take the $500 application fee, and we would not do an annual fee of $500. And I can have engineering explain that.
And that is correct, and I believe the application fee of $500 has already been paid.
Yes. So that, I mean, that's really the request, is you're right, to get away from the $500 annual fee. And Tom Dawson just had an encroachment. We did the same thing. We took the application, but because it does exactly what you do, it was elected by the engineers that we would not do the $500 annual fee.
So that was really all I had to, I was just kind of helping the owner out on working through the maneuverings of the city and getting the proper things approved. So if
we take this juice, will the Pipcorn look like you in 2 weeks? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, Grinberg, I'm sorry. Bruce, do you want to explain that, or engineering want to explain that? Is that all that's really going to the motion, is Brenda?
Yeah, I think Mr. Koppelman got it right. This was in front of PUPEC. I think both of these encroachment agreements and the request did ask for a waiver of the $500 annual fee, which is not uncommon based on the proposed use. And so in talking with the engineering staff today, that one slipped past the goalie, but we would support that.
Very good. We want to thank you, compliment your representative for us, and you guys had a tough year, and you came out of it. Hopefully, you'll still give us the money we need to run the city, but.
Let's tie that to this.
Tie that to that. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Peppercorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Garrick?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 2, preliminary resolution approving finance of Block 9 project, the issuance of an annual appropriated bonds and amendment to development agreement, taxable series 2017B, Block 9 project. Either Ken or Ken Costin to explain. Or Eric, do you have something to comment on as well, on the developers agreement perhaps?
I can answer any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just kick it off, just to give you a little bit of overview. The Block 9 project development agreement was approved in past meetings some time ago. The finance staff and the financial advisors is working on the bond sale, which is the next step to fund the parking structure within that building. We intend to proceed with a bond sale on the 28th of June. And this is the first preliminary step, just to say, give us the go-ahead to proceed to consummate the deal that's already been made, essentially. And so with that, this is a preliminary resolution, basically just authorizing us to move forward. There will be another set of resolutions that sets the bond sale parameters on the 19th, about a week before the actual bond sale. So what you would do would be to delegate authority to your finance team to actually sell those bonds based upon the parameters that are set. So if there's specific questions about the actual.
What type of rate do you think we might get?
The bond advisor is thinking about 4.2%. These are marketed a little higher than general obligation bonds because these are not, and they do not carry the full faith and credit of the city of Fargo's. It's called an annual appropriation debt. It's a little different debt structure, and that carries a bit of a higher interest rate just due to the nuances of the structure of the deal. So I just want you to be aware it's not a general obligation of the city. But if there are questions about the deal, Eric worked on the development agreements and helped us to
Is there any
draft
questions,
these.
commissioners? Can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? We're glad they're finally going to get in the ground, I think, in July. Roll call, please.
Peppercorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Garrick?
No.
Mahoney?
Aye. Want to go through construction? You guys got enough time? Construction update. April Walker's not here, but Jeremy's going to tell us. 1.45 seconds, I think, is what the record is.
We'll start the watch. When you're ready, you say
All
go. And
right, ready, go. All right, so you'll see a new look and feel for the construction update. April said, hey, it's a good idea to get our PR folks involved, so they got some of their fancy maps. So here we go. So from a project safety reporting, we don't know anybody that's been hurt or killed out there, but we did see a construction or a police crash report where somebody ran into some fresh concrete on 32nd Avenue. Sent it to the whole department. So that happened a couple weeks ago, but nobody got hurt.
Did they get the car out?
I believe. I think it got stuck. I think it got stuck and the folks in the car ran. So we'll leave it at that. So here's 32nd Avenue. I'm going to hit the big projects first, and then I'll kind of go through them. So 32nd Avenue, you've heard a lot about it. They're about done with the north side of the road, flopping people to the south side here to tear it up. You know, I think that they're really going well, but in a meeting today, they said, well, they're about right on schedule, so the completion date's the end of October. They say, judging by the pay estimates, they're about 33% of the way through. There's a lot of action out here. There's work going on throughout the corridor. I'll just say one notable thing is the loop ramp that sends people north on I-29, the right turn to go north, that will be reopening later this week. So we'll begin rid of a left turn phase to make it a right turn. This is the Broadway projects, both of them. This is a mile stretch. School's out, so basically everything north of 15th Avenue is closed. And then this week, the contract from 12th to 15th started, so that's impacting the block 14th to 15th Avenue. This one isn't This one is bid. It's not started yet. This one probably will be the most impactful downtown. It'll affect Second Street and Fourth Street, going north and south. So this is a short project, but there's a lot of underground utilities in there. The driveway to the Y is gonna be impacted. They're gonna have an alternate route, but it'll be a challenge for people to get north and south using Fourth Street for sure. So the detour is Main Avenue over to 8th Street. So this will get started, I think next week, and it's gonna take all construction season to get it done. Another project here, there's two projects, light blue, dark blue, 19th Avenue North, northwest quadrant of the city. The light blue is gonna start this week, without traffic impacts. Next week, the traffic impacts start. So the detour route will be 12th Avenue North, around the section. The dark blue bids in late July, won't get started until August at some point. That'll have a completion date next year, but it's a 2-mile stretch, and they're ready to get after it. This is a water main replacement, 23rd Avenue, behind Kmart down there. Not much to talk about that. It's a simple block. Should be done by July. Mill and overlay. The one notable thing here is that they have started. The northern portion is north of the wastewater plant in the green, and then the one on the bottom is we basically wanted to mill and overlay an area, a section of land to tie in the sidewalks with it. So that's between University 25th Interstate to 32nd Avenue. That's progressing. Home demo project was bid recently. So this is flood buyouts. So you can see the home demos by the water treatment plant, the Belmont Park area, and then along Harwood, Hackberry, River Drive, and then along Rose Creek, or Rosewood, I guess, and then Copperfield Court. This is just a one property on Southwood, house demo and levy. Another flood project, the Kinsler, basically the Kinsler house area over to University. And then believe it or not, these projects do wrap up. So the flood wall here along City Hall here from the lift station to the north, they're basically just hitting the punch list items on that. Got the flood wall stained, looks pretty good. Got the sidewalk poured. I think the bike trail on the riverside is going to be done here shortly. This lift station, the 4th Street levee south of the high rise, they seeded out there last week. It's looking pretty good.
Jeremy, just a question about, I drove
Yeah.
past it the other day, the basketball court was full of water. Do we have pumps underneath there eventually that suck that out?
I'm sure we do, but
They just didn't turn on, eh?
they must not have. So
There was like a
that'll
foot of
be
water on there.
No, I'm sure that'll be taken care of. We got the biggest lift station in North Dakota here probably, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Commissioner Strand wants to play basketball this summer, so I'm just curious if you got
Yeah.
that finished.
So actually, I drove by there today. It looks great. And then just north of there, along 2nd Street, that flood wall wrapping into the levee, they're putting the bike trail in there and wrapping that thing up as well. So you guys hear a lot of dry things from engineers. So this is one cool thing that I'm involved with Flint Communications. Work Zone Wally, obviously to the left. We can't keep people off hugging Work Zone Wally down there. So if you look real close, it's Brenda from our office. Just give him a hug. So what Flint came up with is this is going to be a sign. It's going to be 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and the green sign is going to be changeable. So we'll put this on an entrance to a construction zone. So it's 6 feet by 3 feet, and then just the green signs change as construction progresses. So warning, road improvements are coming. Begins next week. They're in progress. Go slow. Good news. It's almost done. Let's get there safely. And then just the logo. So with that.
How many minutes, Dave?
I'm sorry.
You were absorbed in it.
That wasn't even close.
It's better than previous ones, though, I bet.
Commissioner Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeremy, I'm just curious, to what degree do we work with law enforcement when there's construction going on to make sure that the work zones are safe? Is it just an automatic, or maybe, I see Chief Todd nodding his head, but I'm more curious than anything.
I think Chief Todd could probably speak to it better than I could, but I know they've done safety blitzes on the 32nd Avenue project. just keeping speeds down out there and writing citations for people that are going over. I guess that's about all I know. I don't really have too much interaction with them on a weekly basis.
I wouldn't mind hearing from you, Chief Todd. I'm just curious how this all works, and do we all communicate, and I assume you all know when projects are going, and
We do. Our truck reg officer is our liaison with the engineers, and so they let us know when projects are going, and then we'll send teams of officers out periodically to work those areas, and we'll sometimes put speed trailers out in that area too to slow traffic down.
any motorcycle cops, no?
Well,
I think they've been parked, haven't they? or-
we
They retired that.
We still
They
have them,
retired?
and we still have officers trained to use them, and they can periodically jump on the bikes, but right now we have those officers working beats for us.
But not your bike?
Not my bike, no.
Thank you. I was just wondering, it's a high priority to have that type of safety and visibility in a construction zone.
Are you two done now? Any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.